Hi guys, Ingenium here. Quick video on why I've got pipe insulation shoved into the top grill and the bottom grill. I'm going to explain to you what a grill block is, why you'd need one, why you wouldn't need one, how you use it, and all that kind of stuff. Right, okay, so I'm going to display this information via PowerPoint because this might be the most efficient way of getting some information over. Here's some sort of Toyota with a grill block. He's cable tied it to his grill. It's a clever idea. So what is a grill block? It's as simple as it sounds. It's anything that blocks your grill. We will find out what it does, what it doesn't do, when you should do it, and when you shouldn't do it. So why grill block? There's a Honda Insight Mark 1 with the pipe insulation covering the top grill. The main purpose of blocking the grill is to make your car more efficient. It's more efficient as it heats up quicker after a cold start and retains heat whilst driving in cold conditions. So a cold start's obviously when it's been sitting for a long time, especially on the colder days, but anytime you've left your car and the coolant temperature reaches around ambient temperature or just above. It works by limiting airflow over your radiator and also your engine block. If your car gets up to temperature quicker, it has two main benefits. One is that it will use less fuel, as it's not trying to heat itself up for a long time, therefore using less fuel. Secondly, you can get hot or warm air to heat their cabin or defog much quicker. So coming back on to the third point, that it works by limiting airflow over your radiator and also your engine block. People think if you just block if you do a grill block, it's blocking the radiator, and what purpose does that have if you've got a thermostat installed in your engine, which pretty much all cars have a thermostats in. A thermostat's a device that doesn't let water go through to the radiator until it's reached a certain temperature, and they're right by that. But remember, especially if you've got a diesel car or any car with a bigger engine, but even a small car as well, even aluminium, but especially a car with like an iron block, something like that, but even aluminium, if you're driving 20-30 miles an hour and it's cold outside, that air is still hitting your engine. Your engine is still a heat sink. That's still a massive thermal slab of metal, which is going to be losing heat just by driving around, because it's just such a large mass of metal. So by limiting the amount of air that hits your engine block, it's obviously going to heat your car up quicker. So why grill block? In cold conditions, i.e. -2 degrees, you might not be driving hard enough for your coolant to remain at the temperature you would like. Always use a scan gauge or an OBD2 reader to check coolant temperature and never rely on the dial. Some people claim it has an aerodynamic benefit, possibly, but even if it does, I'd imagine it would be negligible. Too long, didn't read. Grill blocks better MPG, hot air quicker, keeps engine warm if you're driving slowly in the cold. So let's just say it's -2 degrees Celsius. You've got your winter tyres on. Let's just even say it's snowing. How often are you going to go full throttle, even half throttle? If you're not driving stop-start where you're not kind of accelerating, things like that, if you're driving and it's quieter, your engine's under pretty much no load. So yeah, you first thing is obviously as you start up your car, you want that hot air into your cabin quicker. One is if your air conditioning's not working, then you want it to defog your windows. But the other thing as well is it's a comfort thing. If you're not dressed for the winter, which I think most people in the UK don't, but depending on where you live, you might. But you might not want to drive with a bulky jacket and all that kind of run. Ideally, you want to start your car, and within a couple of minutes, ideally, you want warm air flowing through the vents for you and your passengers to kind of heat up. If you don't have a grill block, like I said, a car might heat up, but it might take significantly longer. And the first point I put there as well, it says use an OBD2 reader. So I use a Bluetooth one. In my Honda, the gauge doesn't actually move, the temperature gauge. It doesn't actually even move until it hits 48 degrees Celsius. And then anywhere from 60 to 80 degrees, or maybe even higher, I've never had it higher than 80 degrees, the needle doesn't move. It just sits in that kind of below central position, which is where Hondas normally sit. So you could be hitting maybe even 90 degrees and it'll say, yep, it's sitting about there. So don't rely on the dial. It's not accurate. Yeah, some people say it has an aerodynamic benefit. I disagree with that. I mean, maybe if you really taped it up nicely and things like that, but aerodynamics is a funny thing as well. You might think that by taping up a grill, you're doing an aerodynamic thingy because you're obviously stopping it going through it. It'll be going over, but aerodynamics is a lot more complicated than that. Look at F1 cars. So yeah, you're basically a grill block. You get an MPG, better MPG because your car heats up quicker. You get hot air quicker in your cabin, and you keeps your engine warm if you're driving slowly in the cold. So again, if you're not driving hard enough to keep your coolant hot So for example, before I grill block my car, I could be driving around, it'd be quiet at night, it'd be -2, 3 degrees, it's snowing, and my coolant would be hovering about 73, 74, sometimes lower, sometimes higher. I've got the heater cranked up as well. I mean, I've got it like sitting at 26 degrees or something like that, the heater inside. So the coolant's having a real hard time staying hot because I'm demanding hot air. The outside temperature is cold and it's hitting that radiator in the block, and that's sapping its heat away as well. So why should you not grill block, or why not to grill block? Excuse me. You should not grill block your car as a fix to a broken thermostat. Now, that's very important. Don't think, oh, my thermostat's stuck open, I'll just grill block my car. No, fix your thermostat, and then you can think about grill blocking. A thermostat is, in my opinion, an integral part of the car, especially where it's kind of cold. Maybe if you live in a hot country, it's not a thing, but in a colder country, it definitely is. I wouldn't grill block anything nice or newer personally. So that means like if you got a car that's worth £1,000, £1.5 grand, £2 grand if you're lucky, then yeah, fine, grill block it. But don't grill block an S350 CDI Blue Motion, a 60-70 grand car just because you want a couple of extra MPG. If you've got an expensive car, if you've got a complicated car, if you've got a nice car, don't do this, because if you break something, it's going to be very expensive. Only do this if you know your car. I wouldn't grill block an auto, as it will most likely have a transmission cooler. So in a lot of cars, the transmission cooler either sits directly behind the radiator, or sometimes it's kind of it's part of the radiator, like it's kind of built into the bottom or built into the top, so it kind of shares something. Depending on your use case, you might grill block the car thinking, oh, well, I don't do anything out of the ordinary, but you might be towing something one day or whatever, and your automatic gearbox blows up. That's going to be very expensive. Just don't do it if you got an auto, unless you really know what you're doing, but I personally would just stay away from it. I wouldn't grill block a hybrid because of inverter pumps and coolant, the hybrid coolant system and all that kind of stuff. Hybrids are kind of funny because they've got other stuff that they need to cool, like the inverters is a big thing on a Toyota. A lot of Prius guys, they block their grills, but I think they either block the top or they don't block the bottom, or vice versa, because one of them will impact the inverter or something to do with that side. If you break something like that, it's going to be very expensive. So don't grill block something that you don't understand that's nice or expensive, because it can work out really bad for you. You'll end up with a broken car. You'll end up with a massive repair bill. So don't do it on anything like that. I also wouldn't grill block if you want 100% fit and forget scenario. Different temps, uses, and grill blocks all achieve different temps. So what I mean by this is, a grill block's not something that you install and you're just like, it's done. I'm done with it. It's kind of, it's one of them things that your grill block will be different to mine. So for example, if you got pipe insulation, you're doing it in between the slats, maybe using a thicker gauge pipe insulation. Maybe you've only done 70% of the grill and I've done 100%, or I've done 70% and you've done 90%. Maybe you've stuffed it in and it's super tight, or maybe you put it in, it's a little bit loose and it's leaking air on the sides. So different temperatures as well. So what I mean by that as well is that it could be -3 today, it could be -4 tomorrow, then it could be 8 degrees, 10 degrees. Unless you know your grill block is going to be suitable for all these temperatures consistently. So if you have a grill block and it's great for under -1 weather and it never overheats and anything like that under that use, that's great. But what if you do have unseasonably warm weather, you're running late, or something like that? You don't want to kind of cut it so close. You want it so that your grill block works, but you also want it to work in a variety of temperatures. So, and again, with uses, what if you're towing something? What if you're driving faster? What if you get into a race with somebody? What if your wife uses the car? What if somebody's like, oh, I drove your car today and I overheated and blew up because I redline it all the time? I mean, I'm not saying that you should let somebody drive a car like that, but the thing is, if you're giving your car to somebody, they're going to drive it like a normal car. They're not going to be watching the temperature on their OBD2 reader or anything like that. So have it with a bit of leeway. So, if it is unseasonably warm, if somebody else is going to be driving your car, different temperatures, the grill block you have, it's not 100%, I'm just going to fit it and just leave it, unless you're giving it a lot of leeway. For example, the way I've got my car done is it's pretty much all blocked up, and in the summertime I'll remove maybe 25% of the block, maybe even less, because I know from experience, driving in the summer, driving in the winter, driving it hard, driving it slowly, everything like that, I've never got it to overheat, and I've always had better running with a grill block, even during summer, because it doesn't really get that hot here. So make sure you know your car, and make sure you don't grill block too much, because you could be in a really expensive scenario. So what you can use to grill block, it depends on what your grill looks like. If you have slats, then the most common grill block is pipe insulation. That's what I showed on my car. It's that kind of closed cell foam. It's cheap, light, durable, flexible, easily cut, and easily reversible. Now, they're all fantastic things. Cheap's obviously fantastic. It doesn't weigh much. It lasts forever pretty much. It's flexible, so you can stuff it in, and if you're not cut it perfectly sized, it'll kind of conform and contort to fit. You can cut it with scissors, a knife. You could rip it if you probably wanted, and it's easily reversible as well, so that means you can just pull it out in the summertime. Again, if you live somewhere hotter, or if it's unseasonably warm, you might want to pull that grill block out for a couple of weeks or whatever, but with it being easily reversible, it's definitely handy. If you have a mesh grill, you can tape it. Some people do that. I don't like this. One, I think it's ugly, especially if you've got a car that's not black, and it can damage your paint when pulling it off, especially if you leave it on for a prolonged period of time, which, if you're going to put it on during the winter, it probably will be. You can also get something like lino and put holes through it and attach it to your grill. That's what I did in one of my cars. I had a mesh grill at the bottom. I had an offcut of like some flooring or something, and I drilled some holes in it, and I just put some cable ties through it, and I attached it to the bottom of the grill. I mean, it worked absolutely fine. People also like other things like cardboard wrapped in tape to make it waterproof, bubble wrap stuffed in, and other things. You can get creative. You can use cardboard in front of your radiator, but I don't really think that's a great idea, because if it gets wet, you can get cardboard and then tape it up with duct tape, but at that point, just get a better solution, because that's just, it seems like a hassle. The other things are generally less durable, less flexible, not as cheap, not as easily reversible. So generally, pipe insulation is your best one, and for mesh, try and get something to cover it. Considerations before you grill block. Where are your intakes? Don't block these. So some cars have intakes on the front of the bonnet, just like on the top slats or something like that. Don't stick your pipe insulation in there or your grill block there, because you'll be starving your car of air. I mean, I'm sure it'll get it somehow, but you don't want to be denting the performance. Don't do that. Where are your intercoolers, oil coolers, trans coolers, AC radiators, etc.? Don't block these. So on my car, I've blocked pretty much the full front bottom grill, and pretty much the full top grill. My intercooler is actually on the side, or just off to the side, and it's got its own slats to let air in there. Now, if I blocked that up, I'd be making the car worse to drive, because it'd be getting hotter. Cars usually drive, especially turbo cars, usually drive really nicely in the winter when it's got nice, crisp, cold air, keeping that intercooler cool, keeping the intake temperatures cool. So don't block up these things, especially oil coolers, or your automatic gearbox cooler, and all these sort of things. AC radiators as well. I mean, some of fancier cars, they run their AC in reverse during the winter, so you get hot air in your cabin much quicker. Start with a small grill block, 25% of the total area. You can always add more, but if you overheat your engine, that will be expensive. So don't go, I'm going to grill block and just, plaster all the holes. No, don't do that. Start with 25%. Monitor the temperatures. How did it do? Okay, it was 10 degrees today. Was it still fine? Yeah, okay, that's fine. It was -3 today. No, it was still good. Right, okay. I wasn't happy with the grill block because it didn't heat up quick enough, or whatever. Okay, I'll add more. Or I blocked 25% and it heated up as quick as I wanted it to, and it got to the temperature I wanted it to within the time I wanted it to. Okay, so that's fine. Then just keep with 25%. But you can add more. But if you overheat your engine, blow something up, you blow your head gasket, get your car running too hot. I mean, it's just going to be bad. So start slowly and just add to it. Keep adding more if the car is heating up quicker and maintaining temperature adequately. So that's what I'm saying. So if your car's like heating up and it's good, right, okay, add a little bit more. But just add like 5-10% at a time. Don't just be starting at 100%, because that'll be bad. So so don't overdo it. You need some leeway. It might be unseasonably warm one day. You might drive it harder than you normally do. You don't want to change your driving style to prevent overheating. So that's what I was saying earlier. But that's another good point as well, that let's just say it's 8. You grill blocked it so it's great under -1 degrees. It's 10 degrees, unseasonably warm today. Do you really want to be driving like a granny and holding up traffic just because you don't want to overheat your car? No, give it some leeway. Isn't grill blocking dangerous? Yes, yes it is. If you don't know what you're doing and you overdo it and you don't know your car, you will damage something. You'll blow your car up. Well, you won't blow your car up, but you will damage something. You will overheat it. Don't do it unless you know what you're doing. But if you understand your car, you can mitigate much of the risk. Yeah, that's what I was just saying there. Most cars have more cooling capacity than they need, not for putting it on track, you know what I mean, but just general use. So, for example, if you drove from Spain, which is warm, to Russia, it wouldn't overheat in Spain and it would stay warm in Russia. So, generally, the way they design cars is they're not going to have a car that runs great in Russia, but if you drive it in Spain, it's going to blow up, or vice versa. They'll have it in such a way where it'll be able to cool in weathers as warm as Spain, and it'll stay warm in weathers as cool as Russia's. But generally, if you live in a country, you know your weather, you can grill block it in a way so it's suited for your climate rather than suiting it for various climates, if that makes sense. Because the grill block is reversible, it can be taken out in warmer weather. So I mean that is one thing as well. So if you get really warm summers and really cold winters, grill blocking is great because you can block up that grill, get that hot air, get that MPG, and if your summer's really warm, you can just take that grill block out. What I do, as I've said, is I keep the grill block in all year round, but I just take some of the grill block out, so I'll reduce it down to maybe 60 or 75%, something like that, and it stays warm during the summer as well, which is good. Some newer cars actually have an active grille, so I think some of the BMWs and maybe the Mercedes, something like that, the louvers at the front kind of open and close, so that's kind of like an active grille block, which is cool. Some cars in Nordic countries offer OEM grille blocks. I think it was Skodas or VWs, or maybe it was Volvos actually. In some of these Nordic countries where it's really cold, they offer grille blocks that you can buy from the dealer, and then during the winter time you slot them on and they block your grille. They're not usually as extreme as like DIY ones, so they're usually maybe blocking maybe 50 to 60% of your grill. But again, if you live in a really cold country, it's very handy. There's loads more info on websites like EcoModder. There's not actually much of this on YouTube, but I can kind of understand why. But yeah, on EcoModder, they've got loads of information on that. Some of those guys, though, they're like hardcore MPG guys, you know, hypermiling and all that. I'm not into that. I'm more into, I just want a little bit more MPG. I want my heat to come out a little bit quicker. And yeah, that's it. I'm not, you know, these guys are pretty crazy with that. So I hope you enjoyed that, guys. I hope that was informative. I hope that's given you a bit more to think about when it comes to grill blocks. Try it. Like I said, don't break anything though. Just be safe when you do it. And hopefully it works out for you. Hopefully you get better MPG. Hopefully your carbon heats up faster. And hopefully it works out for you. If you found this helpful, please subscribe and give it a like. Thank you.